Hi, coaches. Welcome back to Big to Rule the World. Make sure you hop in and subscribe to our newsletter to get more information, especially if you're looking for different breakdowns on what we're doing as far as the offseason goes. We've been talking about squatting here on the YouTube channel here recently. We're going to be talking more about more offseason stuff as we go along after we get through our spread series and after we get through our NFL series. We're continuing looking at the Super Bowl runner-ups. And, been to the Super Bowl the last 2 years, been to the AFC Championship game the last 3 years, Kansas City Chiefs. Electric offense. Andy Reid creates an offense that is just fun to watch as a football fan. I think you just have fun watching it. He's run single wing stuff. He's run pre-snap motion stuff. He's constantly evolving and playing with his little, basically, toys when you have the guys he has. But three big lessons all sort of center around one thing. First thing we learned was big to rule the world. So, did you not expect me to hit this one? Both starting tackles are out. You have to reshuffle your offensive line. 3 sacks and 8 QB hits. These are all from the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl that was deemed to be like Patrick Mahomes, the next GOAT versus the old GOAT and Tom Brady. Well, really, it was a battle won and lost on the line of scrimmage. Both starting tackles out for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're having to reshuffle your whole offensive line, and Mahomes just couldn't look like Mahomes, and they couldn't get their running game there to support him. And what ends up happening is when you get to a good defensive line, you needed a good offensive line. So keep your guys healthy. One of the tips that that's something that Kansas City couldn't do for both their starting tackles. How can you fix that? You can't prevent freak injuries. You can't prevent, I don't think, torn ACLs. You can't prevent, a ton of injuries unless you're doing a lot of prehab work this offseason. We'll talk about that later this summer. But one of the things that you can do, and I suggest you do, is start to dial back and listen to your athletes and look at your athletes and make sure we're not wearing them down in practice to where their body is more susceptible to an injury during games. I think for older guys in the profession, we sort of look at how stuff was run, 20, 15, 10 years ago, and we need to continue to evolve and keep our guys healthy. I know this from example, guys. This past spring season, we played 7 ball games. I had 6 different offensive line rotations. 6 different offensive lines. Okay, that was a nightmare. Keep your guys healthy. Number 2, you have to plan around weaknesses sometimes. Eric Fisher was ranked as Kansas City's best offensive lineman by Pro Football Focus, but he was just a 19th best tackle. How do they get around this? Quick RPOs. They get around this with quick throws from Patrick Mahomes, with mobility, with getting Travis Kelce out in the open, and with having fast slots. You have to, I've talked about it before, with planning to your strengths. Whether with the Buffalo Bills, that strength is a passing game. Whether with the Green Bay Packers, it's creating more efficient offense. With Kansas City, it was keeping the pressure off of that offensive line. Okay, they were not playing with a sound, stud offensive line up front all year. And I think that's what came back to bite them. And, a lot of times throughout the year, if you're reading stuff with just how their offensive line was playing, you would go, Kansas City's frustrating because what should kill an offense isn't killing them. I think what we learned from that is playing with fire will get you burnt. Okay, with Kansas City, they can't do much about it. We can't do much about it with our offense. Okay, we're high school guys. You get who you get. Eventually, it will come to burn you, and you have to be prepared for that. But, I think you can go back to what our second lesson was, which you can script around your weaknesses. If you're a smaller high school guy like I am, you are going to play some guys who normally wouldn't start on a football team. It just happens. You are going to play, if you're a real small guy, offensive line, or a real small high school, you're going to play guys who are under 200 pounds on the offensive line. How do you plan an offense that behooves them? We're talking about switching up offenses a little bit at the school I'm at currently. And I'm talking to people, and I'm a big spread guy, and we're talking about going to something other than the spread. I won't get into detail on it, even though my head coach doesn't care. And big thing is, I'm an offensive line coach. I'll tell you right now, this is better for my kids. Plan around your weaknesses. Play to your strengths, okay? It sort of should go 1 and 1, all right? If your strengths and weaknesses do not coincide, then you need to be creative in your offense. That is what you need to do. For me, when I put in the air raid, my offensive linemen were not as good at being a traditional run-heavy team, but we became we started out as, air raid, and we're going to throw the rock all around the field because we could pass protect well. And that got better. And then as our pass protection got better, our run game got better. Our bigger bodies were slimmer, and we were able to move a little bit more in the run game. But before then, we had some guys who were just getting slowly run over. We played around with it. Small guys, small high school guys, you know what I'm talking about. Youth guys, you know what I'm talking about. Play around your weaknesses. You're going to have to hide certain holes. Just make sure that you're smart and you create, play your strengths while also hiding your holes. Work on that together. Okay? Till next time, coaches, remember we want score big on the scoreboard, one dominate on the scoreboard. You got to dominate in the trenches. One dominating the trenches. You got to remember that bigs rule the world. I'll see you next time, coaches. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter, link in the description.